Annyeonghaseyo, Ryan Walters, back in the K-League Bunker for the first time in 2018 with Paul Neat and Matthew Binns. Gentlemen, it's been a minute.
It has.
Has anything interesting happened in K-League since we've been off?
Nothing at all.
So we don't, there's really nothing at all to talk about today. No notable transfers of any kind. So
that's it. Yeah, so thanks for watching.
We actually just have some Korean recipes we're going to be sharing today.
Yeah.
I actually do make a pretty good bibimbap, just saying. No, we're here to talk about transfers because there's a lot that's gone down. The window just officially opened yesterday, but a lot of moves have already taken place. One very, very big move with someone that may or may not be represented here today. We'll get to that. But first we're going to start with K-League Challenge. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about all 10 of the challenge teams, including now Gwangju. So we'll talk about them for about a minute each, talk about some notable moves thus far and what the team may still need in the window. But first, to just dive into challenge a little bit, I think last year we all agreed that challenge may have been the more fun league to watch. Paul, would you agree with that?
Yeah, it was really competitive because obviously there's only one automatic promotion place.
Right.
So obviously Gangnam ran away with that. But the playoffs, it could have been anybody. Obviously Busan had second place locked up for a long time, but thereafter, third, fourth, and then the team that were fifth were going at it for a long time. So yeah, because it's such a fine margin between success and failure in the second division, then last year it was really interesting to watch.
Yeah, you got in a little more challenge last year than usual.
More than I normally take in. Yeah, it was certainly interesting, especially in the top 6 or 7 positions as well. I mean, I know the bottom half fell off a bit of a cliff, but
John.
Yeah, but, I mean, who knows which teams may have had a worse year? Yeah, Daejeon. But not to name any names, Daejeon.
Yeah, but Gangnam ran away with it, like you said. I mean, it was all wrapped up, but it's quite. Everybody fought for a playoff place, and then nobody went up, so they're all there again.
That's it. Yeah. All for nothing.
So it should be a strong challenge yet again. I think there have been a lot of moves, and we're going to get into every single teams. But before we do that, I think all three of us have already picked out one notable move, and Paul, we'll start with you for this.
Yeah. Kim Dong-chan, you can see behind us. He was the MVP for 2016, whilst at Daejeon he scored 20 league goals. And if it wasn't for a leaky defence behind him, Daejeon might have been able to have a good tilt at promotion that year. He went out to Thailand the year after, which was a bit strange because his stock was really high. I thought maybe he would get a move to either a classic team in the sort of the bottom half or a team that were really going to be going for promotion in the second division, but he didn't. Went to Thailand. Then he came back in the summer, was at Songnam, whilst they were trying to go for the playoffs, which he got into. Yeah. He was playing in like a number 10 role for Songnam, which was quite strange. But he is good on the ball, got good technique, he's very smart. So that kind of made sense in that aspect. But now, Suwon are showing their aspirations, and they're in real intent. They're building a strong squad. Yeah. And if you're going to have anybody who's going to find the back of the net, there's no better, I think, than Kim Dong-chan in the K-League Challenge.
And they're going to need a lot of help because there's another side down in Challenge that's building a really strong side. And Matt, that's who you wanted to highlight.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Asan in general, and they've had a lot of interesting signs, which we're going to talk about a bit more later. But one of them, probably one of the headlining, when we say signings, it's a little bit different for Asan. They're a police team, so it is full of players who are doing their military service. So Lee Myung-ju here, he joined at Seoul mid-season last, and he had a bit of an injury problem when he first got in, but he's fairly solid in what was an underwhelming season for Seoul. But
fairly underwhelming season for Seoul. Putting it mildly there, Matthew.
Just rubbing it.
Yeah, well, he's a Korean international. Everybody expected him to go to Sangju. Instead, he's playing in the second division, and he's part of a wider midfield again, which we're going to go into, but. It's a heck of an acquisition for Asan in that league. He's going to possibly do very well there, and also Kim Chi-woo as well. He's two people in this photo. Kim Chi-woo is not yet, but he's on his way. But we'll come to that again.
On a train full of zombies.
He is actually going to do that. We'll talk more about Asan and the tremendously interesting squad that they're building.
Huge, yeah.
Really, really looking forward to seeing them this year. So oddly enough, sporting my Chicago Fire today, in a very rare MLS to K-League move. This is only the second I can think of in recent history. Alex just goes by one name. He was a midfielder for the Chicago Fire for a while. Played last year with the Houston Dynamo, which is a team that made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. There were playoffs in MLS. Get over it. It's different. But anyway, Houston had a good season last year, and he was a decent part of it. This is a really, really strong signing for Suwon. He was a pretty big part of a pretty good team in MLS last year, and now he's coming over to the second division. You know, you've already highlighted a move. They re-signed Adrian Lair. This is a team with intent.
Yeah.
So, and we'll get into them a little bit more, but yeah, Suwon's going to be a lot of fun this year.
Well, it's good to see that a citizen club, their backers, i.e. the local government, aren't losing patience with them.
Yeah.
Like Songnam now are a citizen club. They're run by the Songnam City Council. You know, they are losing patience with the team because they're slashing the budget. Suwon FC and their backers, it's good to see that they're not panicking. They are backing instead.
Yeah.
They're backing the manager, the new manager. And with these kind of signings, I mean, you can only suggest that they're going to have a real go at the top four at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, they're certainly going to be making a playoff push.
Oh, surely.
You would have to think. But we'll detail that in a little bit more detail. So again, what we're going to do here is we're going to go through each of the 10 challenge teams. We're going to take about a minute. Matt's going to be very strict about the time for this.
He's wearing his black and white referee
uniform. Yeah, he does
Yes.
have his referee uniform on. So we're doing these in alphabetical order. So I'll take the Ansan Greeners. Paul has Anyang, Asan, Bucheon, Busan, Daejeon, Gwangju, Sangnam, Seoul Eland, Suwon.
Yeah.
So we're ending with him. So we're going to run these down, and Matt, put me on the clock.
Okay.
We've come off guard there.
Go.
Starting in alphabetical order, we have Ansan Greeners, which is actually a team name. Wasting time. Anyway, so far they've mainly signed university students, but they did make an interesting signing this week. Liberian national team forward Sekou Kane, who played for the USL's Bethlehem Steel. So another player coming from the US over to Korean second division. Really interesting that that's happening more. Check it out on Transfer Market. They have it for about $360,000, so that's a significant chunk of change. He set a club record for Bethlehem Steel last year, scoring 10 goals in the USL. Bethlehem's a pretty new team, so that's why the record's a little bit low. 26 appearances for them and about 1,700 minutes, so pretty good signing for them. Also, interestingly, for the Greeners, they're one of the K-League sides that have signed a memorandum of understanding with a Southeast Asian club. They signed with a Thai club. So it'll be interesting to see if that turns into a talent pipeline for future things.
Okay, and that's you up.
So there was one other thing we forgot to mention.
Okay.
And we're going to do this after the minute. It's a week after New Year's.
Yes, it is.
So we're going to have a New Year's resolution for each and every one of these teams.
Okay.
I won't. Team needs for them, they need to get goal scorers. That was the other thing. So New Year's resolution for Ansan: score goals. They scored 36 goals in 36 games last year.
Yeah.
Score goals.
And with that, Raul, because
Yeah.
obviously he was their main man, wasn't he? Second top scorer.
Okay.
In the league.
So my resolution for them: score goals.
Mount a challenge for the top four. That should be their aim. Has to be. Any team with a challenge has to be doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I've got repole the name.
I've kind of got over it now, though. Greeners is. I've got over it now.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
Repole their name.
It's such a nice crest and such a terrible team name.
Indeed, but that's what you get when you put it to public vote.
Yeah.
And Sunmuk and Sunface. Yeah.
Ansan, yeah. Greeners make green face is what's coming up next. All right. Speaking of what's coming up next, we've got the team that should be called the Purples, but they're not the Purples. We have FC Anyang.
Yeah.
We're going to take them.
Yes, a lot of outgoings. Like Lukian on loan from Busan, he's gone back. Orbin Kwaku as well, the Ivorian midfielder, he's left. And they've only brought in Alex back from Seoul Elan, who had a good run in the team with Elan towards the end of last season. He'll be a good signing again. They've also got John Soo-hyun. He was the first choice keeper at Daejeon, so I know a little bit about him. I was quite disappointed to see him leave Daejeon, so I think he's quite a good signing. He'll be working with Shin Mi-son, Valery Sarishev, the hugely famous Korean sort of K-League goalkeeper. Anyang have got a whole new backroom staff, new manager, new assistant manager, new goalkeeping coach. They are starting afresh, and they're having a real good go at it. But they've got a lot of signings to make because their squad now is quite depleted, a lot of outgoing. So, yeah, it's early days. The window only opened yesterday, so still plenty of time. But so far, Alex and John Soo-hyun, they're quite good signings, I think.
Yeah. Look at you finishing.
You got 10
with
seconds.
10 seconds, and I'll tell you what, I'll squeeze in my New Year's resolution would be just to score more goals because they need a striker. They struggled last year with an out-and-out goal scorer. Alex isn't an out-and-out goal scorer. They tried to do it with Lukian, bringing him on loan from Busan, didn't really quite hit the ground running there. Yeah, they need to go out and find a striker that can get up to 15 goals.
Yeah, mine is just be involved for longer. If you remember, they kind of, there was that moment at the beginning of the season, they were looking like, oh, they might be in this playoff race after all, and then they just fell off. They had the FA Cup and then their big showpiece against Seoul, and they fell off and they face of a cliff. So be involved for longer.
Yeah, for me, be entertaining. I think this is a team that has the potential to have a lot of fun, and we were at that FA Cup game against Seoul.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
Anyang brought flares. Their fans were into it. It was amazing. So that the potential is there. I think that this is a team that they're right here in Gyeonggi. They could have such a great following if the team was a lot of fun to watch. So be entertaining.
Right.
All right, moving on to a team that should be quite entertaining.
Well, let me first put the timer on myself.
Yeah, let's put the
I'll
timer
watch it
on.
then.
You watch it.
All right,
Make sure
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so as we mentioned, Asan recruiting for the military service. They brought in Lee Myung-ju from FC Seoul, who we've already talked about. However, they've also brought in Ju Se-jong from Seoul, which is a massive signing. Ju Se-jong is a regular for FC Seoul. He's got a high pass completion rate a couple of seasons ago anyway. And on top of that, they brought in from the K-League champions, they brought in Ko Moo-yeol. Ko Moo-yeol was young player of the season about 3 years ago for Pohang. He hasn't quite taken off at Jeonbuk, but perhaps going to Asan, playing for an Asan team that should be competing for the title, should get him back in the swing of things. Most interestingly, not interestingly, but also a highlight, Hwang In-bom from Daejeon has gone there. Now, it's very interesting in the way he's done it. It's a different approach to military service. He is still very young, but instead of choosing to go abroad, he's opted to get the military service out the way, and then perhaps we can go somewhere else.
It's smart, I think.
I think it's very smart.
Yeah, he did have rumours of Porto, I believe.
Benfica, and there was also rumours of him going to a Bundesliga team that were in the Champions League, unnamed team. I think it might have been Wolfsburg, but in the end, it didn't quite materialise. Perhaps because of his having to do military service at some point. Sorry,
New Year's resolution. I wish, if we would have allowed it more time, I really could talk about Asan and the team that they've built for this year for much, much longer than a minute. It's really, really fascinating.
Well, we will be having a season preview show.
We will
Yeah,
do
we
a
will.
season preview. So just transfers and New Year's resolutions. So Matt, what do you got?
Use that talent to play attractive football.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of already were, but use it. You've got that squad. Let's have something entertaining.
Yeah.
Mine would be to make this year count, because a lot of these players who have just started military service will have 22 months.
Yep.
Therefore, they'll lose them at the end of next season, 2019 season. So now is like their golden crop, as if you could think about it that way. Use this season before all this crop of players like Lee Myung-ju, Ju Se-jong, before they leave. Make this year count.
I'll just piggyback on that. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, make this year count. I like that. Moving on in the alphabetical order of things. Up next, we have Bucheon 1995, which is still one of my favorite team names, by the way. All right, put me on the clock.
Oh.
Keeps locking. I'm going to have to switch the lock off the phone.
More time for me.
There we go.
So, Bucheon, unfortunately, their most notable transfer news so far is that they lost probably their best player, a guy that goes by the name of Weguninho. He is now with Suwon Blue Wings. He was third in challenge last year with 12 goals, and most of the attack went through him, so these are some really big shoes to fill for them. Also, they lost their goalkeeper, Ru Wanu. He's now with Pohang. So these are two really big holes at opposite ends of the field that could really, really affect Bucheon. So team needs for them, obviously they have to fill that. But more than anything else, I think this is a team that needs difference makers. Last year, Bucheon were the epitome of balanced squad, which is good and bad. They finished 15, 7, and 14, almost exactly even. They scored goals almost equally in each of the 15-minute marks of the game. They're not stronger at the beginning or the end. And also, they have the smallest goal difference of only +4. They need players that can help push the needle a little bit more.
Okay.
Which is why my New Year's resolution for them is be bold. This was a really balanced squad last year, which is obviously a good approach, but it didn't work out for them in the end. So this year, go for it. Be bold.
Oh, for me, I would say finally deliver on the promise you show, because they always do. They always look promising and then they don't make it.
A Jumbook fan has no problem hyping up Bucheon, by the way, after being eliminated in the FA Cup 2 years in a row by them.
That's true. Mine would be to embrace the new surroundings, because they will have a new stadium, a purpose-built football stadium right next to Bucheon Civic Stadium. Much smaller, much more K-League Challenge friendly. So who knows? In that big bowl of a stadium with a running track, because I've been to Bucheon, it's a bit damp. It's a bit flat.
Yeah. In
the new stadium, fans right next to the pitch. Who knows? It might just be the little bit of difference that they need.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen the renderings of that yet, it looks
nice. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So K-League, can you please release the fixtures so I can plan Bucheon away? Thank you.
Be great. By the way, we see that there are some questions coming in. We're timing ourselves on this, but we're about halfway through. Matt's keeping track of those, and we're going to get to the questions at the end. So by all means, please keep them coming in, and we're going to get to them as soon as we're done talking about all of these teams. And speaking of all of these teams, that's almost blown out too much on the screen there, but you can tell who it is. It's Busan Park, and Matt's got them.
Yes, I have. So, where to start? They nearly had it all, and there's nothing left now. They've gone back.
It sounds like Adele.
Yeah. That's cost me 10 seconds.
Sorry.
They've had a lot of transfers out. The transfers out are currently dominating the headlines. They've had 3 foreigners have gone. Romulo's gone. Lukian's gone. Leo's gone. Lee Jong-hyuk is attracting interest from Japan. Who else has gone? John Nam have taken Park Jun-tae, Lee Kyung-rul, and Yoon Dong-min. They have brought in a veteran defender in Lee Jong-min from Gwangju, and they're also rumoured to be going for Kim Chi-woo. That deal has not gone through yet, but that would be a good, strong signing in defence. But they need a lot. They've got a big window ahead of them. If they're going to come anywhere close to repeating what they nearly had last season,
Which was
so that would be it really for me. I've gone through it very quick instead.
nailed it.
So my resolution is, it's very simple. It's pick yourselves up and go again.
Yeah.
That's similar to what I was going to say, actually. Yeah, pick this because. But the thing is about Busan is that they can use that name. They are a big name in K-League, just in general. Never mind in the challenge. So just name drop yourselves. When it comes to recruiting players, I'm sure that name will be a pull.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not hard to get people to want to live in Busan.
Yeah, it's a lovely place.
They've also got the biggest budget as well, as we saw with the salaries. The biggest wage budget in the challenge, so they can afford to pay for the better players.
And I may come back to regret this, but with Busan, get promoted by any means necessary. Last year, loved watching them play. Again, it is truly a tragedy that Cho Jin-ho died at such a young age, but also from a footballing standpoint, I loved watching his teams play. I loved the way his teams play. But this year, if Busan needs to win ugly. Just get back to classic.
Yeah.
Speaking of ugly,
oh god.
Up next.
No, we got rid of the ugly badge. I'm going to sidestep that.
No, the badge isn't ugly.
The old one.
What happens on the field sometimes.
Yeah. Last year was our 20th anniversary, and it was as bad as it could get. They have let a lot of players go because they need a complete clear out. Mm-hmm. That's what they need, and they've done. A lot of players have left, and they've been quite active so far in the transfer market. They've brought in Filip Holchowski from Songnam, which was a surprising signing.
Yeah,
because when you finish bottom of the challenge, you think, well, how can we attract players? If you're a Daejeon manager or the CEO, how can the team attract players? And they've signed him, so that was a good signing. Kim Jin Young, Pohang goalkeeper, played not so much last season, but the season before played about 20 games. He's supposed to be quite a good goalkeeper. And Ko Myung Sok as well, who is in the Korea under-23 squad that's going to the AFC Championship this very week. So promising. It's still early days as well. They need a captain though. This is the one thing that I need to see from Daejeon is to get a captain. They lack so much mental strength, so much character. Sort it out.
New Year's resolution for them. Where do you start?
Yeah, find some character, please. Believe in yourself. The heads dropped easily, very easily. As soon as they went a goal down, heads dropped. They conceded a lot of goals in the last 10 minutes of games because they lack leadership. You need to first of all find a captain and believe in yourselves.
9th or higher. It's an improvement.
It's an improvement.
Similar to us, I was going to say mid-table. Shoot for mid-table. Just don't be in that conversation for a playoff place. You don't necessarily have to make the playoffs next year. That'd be a big leap for them. But just
be competitive.
Just be relevant.
Yeah.
Just be relevant in the league. Stop being a doormat. Because we all love you, Daejeon. Kind of.
I do anyway.
And you can't tell who that is at all. We'll adjust this for the classic one. But that's Gwangju, who, unfortunately for them, is back in the challenge, and Matt's taken them.
Yeah, so they nearly had a... well, they've lost the manager. Kim Hak-bom has left. He came in to fix things, and instead he couldn't, so he's resigned. They brought in Park Jin-sup. Park Jin-sup is a bit of an unknown. I think this is possibly his first management job, unless he's had some high school jobs previously. It's a lot to be done. There's a lot of rebuilding. They've had a lot of outs. Niall McGinn is out, obviously, after doing nothing. Im Sun Young has gone to Jeonbuk. Song Sung Min has gone to Pohang. Kim Min Hyuk has gone to Pohang. They've lost a lot. So far, they've brought in forward Gil. Not a lot about him. He used to play for Gangwon in Gangwon's first year. They brought in Im Min Hyuk from Seoul, Kim Jung Hwan from Seoul, who were okay, but not too inspiring. And they've got three lads from Mokpo who had that fantastic FA Cup run, so they might turn out to be all right. It's early days in the window. There's a lot to be done, and because this manager's a bit of an unknown, don't really know what they're going to be going for at this moment in time.
Resolution for them?
Resolution for them is promotion.
Oh,
return to return to the classic. They've come down from the classic. You got to go back up. If you're a team going down, you shouldn't be looking to. Yeah,
fair enough.
It's a resolution. We don't all keep our resolutions.
That's true.
You failed yours yesterday, didn't you? Anyway, for me, it would be to harness that exuberance of youth, because they've just signed Im Min Hyuk from Seoul, who I wanted to go to Daejeon, at least on loan. They did a swap deal, it was a 2-for-1 swap deal there with the two Seoul players, and he's a good player. He played in the Under-20 World Cup for Korea, so that is a good signing in the challenge. And people like him, players like him, who are young and hungry, I suspect, try and make a name for himself in the game. Try and harness that exuberance of youth. That would be my New Year's resolution.
Score goals.
Yeah, that was a problem.
Score goals. I mean, Gwangju for half the year last year, all three of us kept saying this team is not as bad as they look. They're not as bad as they look. And I still would hold true that they were not as bad as the automatic relegation spot would indicate, but they just could not score goals.
Well, that's it, because they lost Jung Jo-guk, who his goals the year before made up for 19 points.
Yeah.
You take 19 points out of any team, and it's going to have a huge effect on your season, isn't it? So
you need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, speaking of teams that need to score some more goals. Anyway, we've got Songnam up next, and I am on the clock. All right. So, interestingly enough, after having what ended up being a decent season, they're having a bit of a fire sale right now in Songnam, so it would seem. You mentioned Halhovsky is gone, which was pretty surprising, but maybe it's a thing about budget. It's going to be really interesting to see if their linchpin goalkeeper Kim Dong-jun sticks around, because he's a Korean national team fringe player. It seems like Songnam's starting to maybe reel in spending, that they might not be looking for promotion this year. So it's going to be really interesting to see if he sticks around this window. But even more than that, I think the thing that they're going to need to look for is goal scorers, because we talked about how bad Ansan was at scoring goals. Songnam wasn't much better. They scored 38 goals in 36 games last year. But with that, they did manage to get a +8 goal difference. So clearly the back line is not an issue at all for them. So they need to look up front. They were tied for the most draws with 14 as well. So just get somebody that can score some goals.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. Resolution for them, win the playoffs. You have to get back to Classic. These 7 stars are for 7 titles. Get back to Classic. That has to be the resolution for them. And I don't think they're going to do it by winning the league. I think the league's way too strong for that, but their resolution needs to be to win the playoffs.
Promotion or quite literally bust, or quite possibly bust rather, because their budget is so small. If they don't go up this year, this could be. Okay, may not be, but their budget's so small. It looks like the city's intention is to just brush them under the carpet.
So, City Football Group, I know you're watching. I know you wanted to Korea. Just saying.
I'm going to make a cheesy magpie pun, if I may. It's their second season back in the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Make it not 1 for sorrow, but 2 for joy.
I don't know whether to applaud that. Or just
Come on.
The silence speaks volumes.
We're just going to move on to the epitome of sorrow and joy, which is Seoul Eland.
Yes, Seoul Eland, in a similar situation to Songnam actually, because obviously Seoul Eland are backed by Eland Group, quite a large company, but rumours are that they might be losing patience with lack of on-field progress, and so far they've had a sort of quite a lot of outgoings, but some incomings as well. An Ji-ho came in from Gangwon, who played about 25 games last year in the class, even scoring 3 goals as a centre-half. That's quite impressive. They have brought back Kim Tae-eun from Daejeon, who was a bit of a underwhelming and unspectacular player. He's a hard worker, but to sign him back again, it's a bit strange. So far, not a lot of signings have really jumped out, apart from Cho Chan-ho, who signed from FC Seoul. Now, he was one of the players listed for free agency by FC Seoul, which I thought he wasn't getting a lot of game time for Seoul last year, so it kind of made sense. I didn't think he'd go to a challenge team, though, so there's still room for improvement, but that is a big signing.
It's a nice sign of intent from them, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And they need it.
They do, yeah.
New Year's resolution for them
would be to be competitive for once, because it's been nearly 2 years since they had that tilt at the top 4. They got into the playoffs, and the last 2 seasons they've been really underwhelming, unfortunately. They can't seem to get the foreign signings right.
Yeah.
No.
They haven't had a player like Atarabai who excited the crowd. He was unpredictable, but he did things that no one else could. Alex did that for a little bit, but he's gone back to Anyang. So if they brought in some foreign signings already, Daniel Febles from Monagas. So if they can get someone who could at least lift the crowd, make it entertaining.
Show us why you actually exist. It's a fair point.
It really is.
They're backed heavily, and they're still in there, and they have high turnovers of players. What's your actual point?
I think because
and they're a capital city club.
Yeah,
I mean it's really important. Like K-League history, they literally mandated all clubs leave Seoul at one point in time. It's a really big deal to have another team in Seoul.
And to have this one that just has, I mean, we've had good days out at Seoul, Leland, and the people on the previously on the staff there. Good looking your job, Dan. So, but they could be so much more, and they're not. So I'd like them to show why they actually exist.
My New Year's resolution for them is to get rid of the megaphone guy.
Oh yeah, he's awful.
Get rid of him.
He's awful.
Let fans create the atmosphere. No one likes the megaphone guy. Love you, Eland. Get rid of him.
That's a fair point. And
not that I'm at all passionate about it. Anyway, moving on. Moving on to the final team of the challenge, and then I see there are a couple of questions that came in, so we'll get to those after Paul talks about another really interesting team in challenge this year, Suwon FC.
Yeah, I'm really excited by Suwon FC this year. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for them, because they are kind of new to the K-League in a sense. They came in a few years ago, but they are building a good team that are going to have a proper tilt at the playoffs, I think. I touched on Kim Dong-chan earlier. You talked about Alex Lima. Alex Bruno from Gyeongnam. Had a good season with Gyeongnam last year. He's a good signing. They also managed to keep Adrian Leia, which is as good as a new signing in my opinion. He was largely ever present for Suwon. He had a couple of games with concussion, but he so solid, such a good player in that team, in that division. So all they would need now is a partner for Adrian Leia. They let Vladan leave. He's left. If they can get someone in to partner him, they've got a squad that's pretty much ready to go, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And a New Year's resolution for them?
Show everybody why people picked you as a possible title challenger last year, and now you're building a squad to do it this year.
Yeah.
Prove us all right again, I suppose. Really, that's what I would say.
Yeah, well, with promotion, I just put promotion. With those signings, promotion is the only acceptable outcome. There's a lot of promotion resolutions. Only 2 of them.
Well, the thing is,
could get them.
I mean,
in the challenge though,
in challenge, there's
10 teams, and
But
you have to really.
it has with their signings, promotion only acceptable.
Yeah.
Outcome.
I'll mimic one of the ones from earlier, and I'll say be entertaining. I'm really interested in this roster that they're putting together, and I think that they have the potential to just stop lobbing the ball up top, stop playing target striker football, pass the ball more than 3 or 4 times, and I think that this is a squad that can do that. I think they've got a strong midfield, they've got some finishers up top, they're obviously strong at the back. I think this could be a really fun team to watch this year, so hopefully my resolution for them would be to be entertaining. So
we've had a couple of questions in. Some are actually for classic teams. So the classic team questions we will address. I've made a note of them. I'll be addressing them in the following video. We're going to do this in 2 parts. But there is a question in from Phil Mason, Sunderland Phil, as we often refer to him here. His scarf is making a debut here. He's the one he left in Jeonju, and I picked up. Thank you, Phil. I'll be bringing that down to you. He says...
It smells like money.
But it is green.
Oh.
Is it maybe man ones?
Oh, dear. All right, with all the iPark sales, are they still favourites for promotion?
Are they favourites?
I mean, on the basis of the signings that they've made so far across the league, probably not. But it is very early days, though. So,
for me, no. I think you lost arguably the best manager in Korea, and that's going to affect the team hugely. And then also, just the signings that we were just talking about for Suwon. Suwon's had a huge year. Asan was already a strong team, and they just brought in arguably the best midfield in Korea.
A midfield that would do well in the Classic.
That would do great in the Classic. 2 of which did do well in the Classic last year. Ju Se-jung got his way onto the national team. He was in the EAFF E1 Football Championship, which is actually the name. And Young-ju had a great season. So, I mean, that's a really good midfield. So, I don't peg Busan as a favorite.
No. And also, there'll be the hangover as well from last year.
Yeah.
Double disappointment. Lost in the playoffs, lost in the FA Cup final. It's how they pick themselves up then. And I'm not sure they can.
Yeah, I see them that they can probably make the playoffs. But favourites, no.
Yeah. So, is there anything else from the challenge?
That's it for the challenge. So.
All right, so,
there's one just come in.
As Matt was saying, what do we got here?
Oh. Is it our very own?
Daniel Croydon, can we get a promotion prediction from each?
Ooh.
So here's how I'll say this: automatic promotion, and then I personally think next year things are going to go back to normal, and Challenge is going to get promoted over a Classic team.
Okay, so should we do automatic promotion first, and then playoff finalists?
Then playoff finalists, we'll say. Yeah. So automatic promotion. Ooh, that's a tough one.
Can we all say Suwon? We can't all say Suwon, can we?
We can't all say Suwon. No, I mean I'll start, and I'll say it's going to be Asan.
Oh yeah,
Asan looked good in the playoffs this year. They were already a good team. They lost a lot of people, but we talked about this during the playoff videos and leading into the playoffs. They lost 9 really quality players going into the playoffs, and then still look strong. And then they got this really, really impressive crop of reinforcements coming in. I don't see who's going to take the league from them personally, so I think Asan's going to go up.
All right, I'll go with Suwon then, just because of how well they are building this team.
Yes.
Even at this early stage in the transfer window, they're making a lot of waves with their sort of, MVP from 2 years ago. You can't really get much better than that in terms of a striker. So, yeah, Suwon FC for me.
I'm torn between the two, so I'm going to have the casting vote, I think, and I'm going to say Suwon. I just...
Do you see how much it pained him?
Yeah, I really do like the Asan team this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Asan team is going to be very good. I just think Suwon, they've had that season in the challenge, and Asan's obviously had many seasons in the challenge, but they've kind of rebuilt, and they've got some strong signings in, a lot of intent there. I just fancy Suwon.
Fair enough. Playoff finalists, and I'm going to say, to make it interesting, let's not say Asan or Suwon, because I think obviously we favored the two of them, so let's just pick a third team.
Okay, so yeah, well,
so I
normally I'd say Asan,
I would say
but not
right. Fair to say we would just swap, and I picked Asan, so I would say Suwon's going to win the playoffs.
So a third
let's
potential
just make it
team.
interesting, because it's New Year's resolution time, and you always do stupid things that you're not going to remember in January next year.
This is why I'm going to say Daejeon.
I knew it was coming.
Hey, last year I said they're going to go up as champions.
Well,
Daejeon.
I see that Tim Barnes is watching, so if you can somehow do one of your amazing magical videos and record that, we'll bring that back up at the end of the year.
At the end of every month, actually.
Every time we lose.
I am going to say... I'm not going to say Daejeon. I think you have to pay me. Let's.
Well, you are a Jumbo supporter.
Well, we're usually making the payment anyway. I'm going to say Busan. I know we've just kind of written them off, but we've still got the nucleus of the team there. I mean, they've got to get. It's a big window. Our predictions now will probably change come end of February, because the window has only been open for a few days. Most of these coming in are free signings at the moment and things. So we'll probably have to reassess this close to the end of the window. But at this moment in time, I'd still say Busan would probably be in the playoffs.
I'm going to lean more towards Paul's line of thinking, and I'm going to say Seoul Elan gets it done this year. They get up into that. Nothing. Elan.
Stick with it. Stick with it.
They're gonna do it, and then
we're all gonna look like idiots.
In 2019, we're gonna have the Seoul Derby that the league's been craving. It's totally gonna happen. Yeah. But I think interesting to note here before we move on from Challenge that last year, preseason, about this time last year, we all of us picked Sungnam to immediately come back up.
Yeah.
They weren't even in this conversation. They weren't even one of the. I mean, I know you and I are being kind of flippant, but I don't know. It's tough to say with Sungnam because they had that horrid start last year and then came back and looked strong, but they've sold some key pieces, and if they lose Kim Dong-jun, so it'll be really interesting to see what happens with them this year. But I do think it's interesting that just a year ago they were the unanimous staff pick of all of our writers to come back up to Classic with automatic promotion, and then this year not really in that playoff conversation. So not to end on a dour note or anything.
Anything other stuff here? Oh well, we've had somebody Yi Sang-hwa. Oh hello, I met you in Jeonju Castle. Hello. Other people, Han Sung-un. Hello. So just people saying hello.
Hello.
Jay Seymour.
Okay, yes, Jay Seymour.
Jay Seymour. We know your true identity.
I know you are, Jay Seymour.
Greeners are an amazing name. Disagrees with the repolling.
Is it though?
Yeah, but it wasn't the worst option. Ansan Smart was also an option.
I kind of preferred that over Green.
Ansan United was my pick if I cared that much. Yeah. But I mean,
I liked Wolves.
Yeah, that was quite good actually.
Wolves. It's clearly what they wanted because their emblem is two wolves.
Yeah, I think they designed the badge and then they thought people will surely pick Wolves, won't they?
People are going to pick Wolves. I mean, Ansan Wolves also just would have been cooler.
But are there wolves in Ansan? No, I don't. I mean, no. But
doesn't matter.
That's it
anyway. Yeah.
So that's it for Challenge. So what we're going to do right now is, instead of having you stick around for a full hour, we're actually going to take a little break. We're going to get some refreshments. We recommend that you do the same. And then we're going to come back.
Put the kettle on.
We say 3:30.
Put the kettle on. Yeah. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to spend a little bit more time per team for Classic. Mm-hmm. And we're also going to talk about that guy's move. So if you have any questions for Classic, which Matt already mentioned a few came in, which is great, we'll get to those. We'll try to answer those as we're doing the teams this time. So as they're coming in, we'll try to keep a little bit more of an eye on it, but no promises. But yeah, keep those coming in, and we'll be back in...
Should we say 3:30? Make it nice.
We'll say 3:30. We'll make it nice and neat. So
speaking of neat, I'll slide over.
Get that afternoon snack in, and we'll be right back. And Paul's going to not awkwardly turn off the camera in any way. See you soon. Hey, thanks so much for watching.
If you like the video, make sure to click like below and then click subscribe to get more from us.
Click here.
Oh, we're putting it here.
We're putting it here.
Oh, sorry, you're going here.
It's going to go right here.
Okay.
We'll see once you're here.
Thank you.